Hi, my name is Kai.
I'm Jason.
And welcome to Growing with the Girtleys, another episode. We are so glad that you decided to join us today, and we really appreciate your time today. We wanted to hop on real quick. We just watched the end of the Married to Medicine reunion part 3, and it is right there in our, I guess, branding when it comes to relationships. So our relationships portion of the channel is called The Bridge. We want to bridge the gap and learn how to meet in the middle in an effort to be in a happy, healthy, and functional relationship. So we wanted to definitely speak to what we saw tonight on the Married to Medicine reunion show, and more specifically,
Scott and Contessa.
Scott and Contessa. Bless their hearts. Obviously, I want to just kind of put this out here. Listen, we are all in this thing together called life. So we are not here to judge or to make people feel insignificant or less than. We are all human. Obviously, there's backstories in everybody's relationship, so we don't know all the ins and the outs of anybody's relationships. So we just want to obviously say that. So we respectfully react or review the reunion show, in particular that couple. Anything?
That's it.
So we're just going to get into it. This is a little different from our other channels or our other shows. So the reunion show starts off with Andy questioning the husbands. That's pretty cool right off the bat, because that's just typically not how a reunion show starts, especially these types of shows where the wives are involved. So starts off with just the husband. So here's Dr. Jackie's husband defending Scott, or kind of, it sounds like he's defending Scott. So he's just like, give Scott the floor in so many words. Give Scott the floor and allow for him to speak to what happened between him and his wife. So Scott starts talking, and what I have to say about that is open mouth, inserts foot. Right off the bat. So he starts out by defending his lie and the life coach. So
prior in the season, Dr. Contessa and Dr. Scott have been having issues, and the main issue that they've been having right now is the counseling issue. Dr. Contessa is all for it and all for it, and all throughout the show, all throughout the season, she's been kind of jabbing him, Dr. Scott, with let's go to counseling, go to counseling, go to counseling. After a while, she says, you know what? I'm going to stop jabbing you, and I'm going to go to counseling and try to better myself. So fast forward to she's talking to her life coach, basically via Zoom or whatever. Scott comes in, almost kind of photobombs their conversation, and then goes on to say, you have a life coach? You know what? I'm seeing a life coach as well.
And I've been seeing her for about 6 or 7 months.
And I'm not paying her. 3 things. So
where they do that at?
He's been seeing a life coach 6 or 7 months, not paying her at all. So now, all of a sudden, Contessa looking at him like,
I'm confused.
I'm confused. What's going on? You never told me about this life coach. And therein, fast forward to the reunion.
Right. So here we are. So that is basically what Andy's asking him to speak to. He's like, well, y'all, I was lying all along. That doesn't make any sense to anybody. So, of course, that's why I said open mouth, insert foot, because that doesn't make any sense. He later says that, and Contessa knew that I was lying. She knew in her head. That quote, she knew in her head. What sense does that make?
I don't know what sense that is at all, because the main thing is in any type of relationship, we can't try to, and I've been guilty of this, I've tried to tell my wife what I think she's thinking. And it just don't work.
It doesn't work, because it's ridiculous. You never know what a person is thinking, and it's just not right for you to think that you know what the person is thinking. So Andy's like, Curtis, to Dr. Jackie's husband, is this what you wanted us to give him the floor for? Like, seriously, is this the lie is this the story that you want us to listen to?
And not only that, the reason why this is such a big, hot ticking moment is because also during the season, he told Dr. Contessa it was a woman, 7 months, has not paid her life coach. Then while they're on the island on a vacation or whatever, he tells Dr. Contessa, Dr. Heavenly and Quad, no, it wasn't a woman, it was a man. So now we have two different stories. Is it a man? Is it a woman?
Did you even have a life coach?
I don't know. And that is the theme of what Scott's been doing up until now.
Right. So we're all confused, to say the least. So my first point in terms of, I guess, building a bridge or making sure that we are trying to meet in the middle, because that is what our goal is. We want marriages to actually work. So obviously I think it's kind of this glaring message of tell the truth, right? Tell the truth, and you don't have to defend the truth, right? You only have to defend a lie. So Scott made all of that up, in my opinion, just because he wanted to kind of prove her wrong, right? She said, you know what, I'm gonna take ownership that, you know what, we need some help, and we, yes, need help. However, because you're not willing to do this with me, I'm gonna take it upon myself to go and get the help. And again, just to prove her wrong, you decided to lie. It just doesn't make any sense. It's a terrible thing to do. Like, I just feel like he did that he admitted to it, not I feel. He admitted to, I just did that. I was just kind of being petty. And it was just to pretty much, I guess, win the argument in that moment. It made no sense. So meanwhile, the girls, the ladies, are in the back, and they're getting their hair and makeup and everything spruced up, if you will. So Contessa's in the back, and they're all watching the same thing that's happening kind of on the stage. And she's just back there looking crazy, if you ask me, because she's having to defend, herself and just her role in all of this. And it's just really kind of hard to watch at that point. But anyway, the show goes on. Andy's now asking about the separation. So the previous reunion, I guess episode 2, that's when the separation talk sort of came up. So Andy's like, Dr. Karen, what are your thoughts? Dr. Karen is
Anila's
husband. So they're the newest castmates. He's pretty neutral in all of this because, again, he's new. And so he brought up a great point. He's just like, Quad spoke up because Contessa didn't speak up. So basically what he was saying is that when Andy asked, okay, Contessa, what's up with the whole Dr. Contessa? What's up with the whole separation thing? She just really couldn't even articulate it and say it. And I just think that sometimes that's real. So I just don't want us to be like, oh, she was like, I don't know, weak or anything like that. It's sometimes very hard to articulate pain. Something that's very real like that's going on in your relationship. So we just have to be sensitive to that. I don't blame her for that, nor do I blame Quad. And that's kind of what Dr. Karen was speaking to. He's just like, Quad wasn't the person that, we should be attacking or finding fault with. She said what Contessa couldn't say, which was simply that she had actually filed separation against Dr. Scott. So that, of course, just sparked a whole lot because Scott didn't even realize the separation was on the table. Like, to me, that makes no sense. It's just like, in one breath, here we go again with the lies. In one breath, you admit to having problems and there being talks of a separation, and then you act as if you're surprised by it when Contessa brings it up or when the girls bring it up on the show. It just doesn't make sense.
And that's kind of the theme of what's going on with Scott. It always seems he has no clue. So he is either literally, intentionally has no clue about what's going on, or he just lying through his teeth. So that's the theme. And Scott kind of slides, talks about something, but doesn't really get into the meat of it, or doesn't really answer the dang question.
Exactly.
Is it or isn't it?
So Dr. Karen was just basically like So, Scott, you need to basically come clean and tell your version of the truth, because if not, we're going to believe our own narratives that, we've either made up in our heads or that we've heard someone else. And we're going to actually conclude that that's the truth. Therein lies more problems. So you just go ahead, baby.
And also, the cool thing about Dr. is Kieran. And the reason why...
Kieran. It's not Karen, K-A, it's K-I, but it's Kieran. I have a nurse, Kieran, at my job. It's spelled the same way and it's pronounced the same way. It's not Kieran.
It's not Kieran.
It's Kieran.
Okay.
It's a little different, but anyway.
Sorry about that. Dr. Kieran.
It's not Karen like we say, like Karen. It's more Kieran.
Dr.
So you were saying Kieran.
So it's Kieran.
Kieran. Yes.
All right. So one thing that Dr. Kieran, sorry. Dr. K, I'm going to call him that. One thing that Dr. K was basically saying is that, telling Scott, we're all confused as to what you're trying to communicate or say.
Right.
And the one thing I will say, I agree with Dr. K, because I felt like I was on crack as well as I was watching it. I was telling Babe, okay, is it or isn't it? I mean, am I confused? And every other couple, all the guys, we really don't know what's happening. So, Scott, once again, Rick, to you, what's going on? We need you to speak the mind. Let's do perfect sentence structure, subject verb agreement, and let's answer the question in a succinct way.
Just tell the truth. So here's Contessa basically in the back with the girls. And so they're asking her, like, so what's up with all of the separation talk and all of that? And so Contessa basically is saying, like, well, it's still on the table. And I've given us a timeline by my birthday next year. And so Dr. Heavenly's like, well, has any changes been made thus far since these parameters have been put in place? And she's just like, nothing. So that's a whole problem, a whole other thing. So let's keep moving. Andy now asks Scott, are you monogamous? Scott says, yeah, we're not polygamous. Scott, sir, again, this is the problem that I have with Scott. He insults people's intelligence. First of all, polygamy, monogamy, that speaks to marriage, right? So sure, yes, you told the truth that you're not a polygamist, right? Because you don't have more than one wife. That's what that means. That doesn't mean that you're not sleeping with more than one woman. And so again, it's just this whole, well, we're not polygamous. I can't.
So once again, it's the play on words.
Yeah.
So basically what we're asking, Scott, do you have a girlfriend? Is there a chick on the side? Is there another woman? That is what Andy was basically wanting to know. And once again, you did not really answer the question.
It reminds me of R. Kelly. And I think they did the skit on SNL when it's just like the interviewer asked or said to him, so you know you're not supposed to date teenagers. And he was just like,
what do you mean? So 16? 17?
And the interviewer was like, any number that ends with the word teen. It's like, Scott, polygamy, we know what those words mean. So, sir, get it together. Are you sleeping with other women? That's what Andy should have just come out and said. But anyway, I don't know. Scott said what he said, and I guess he's sticking to it. So, moving on. Toya's husband, Dr. Eugene. I'm kind of a fan of Dr. Eugene because he's a straight shooter, like me. So I think. So he basically, this part I didn't like about Dr. Eugene, but basically he's just like, y'all just have a problem with being honest to each other. Here's Scott. Yeah, I agree. Scott is just agreeing because he doesn't want to be solely at fault for the demise of his marriage. I feel indifferent about that because it's not a y'all problem. Contessa hasn't been caught up in any lies whereby she has to defend the truth or a lie for that matter. So I don't agree with Dr. Eugene saying that. So I just wanted to say we have to be careful of those types of comments that we make when we just sort of, we see our friends going through something and we don't want to, we know what's up. We don't want to say like, Drew was lying, and that's what the problem was. So we'll say, hey, y'all just not being honest. Like, no, say what it is, and you know, the truth will set you free.
Yeah, it goes to just basically being accountable for your actions.
Absolutely.
And that's basically, you know, what's going on, Scott? Like, we really just need to know what's happening. I need you to be accountable for what's going on. You know, if it's your fault, say it's your fault. Because Dr. Contessa throughout the whole season basically said, he said some crap, I said some stuff, I'm going to own my stuff.
Exactly.
That I've done.
And I'm going to go to therapy and actually do the work.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, he's still just in the stars, just being aloof. And I just can't. So anyway, Andy now mentions the house being up for sale. Because again, he's like, there's been a separation soon after that. You know, these are public records, y'all. You know, now the house is being put on the market. Scott says in rebuttal to that, well, there are no signs out.
That the house has been listed. So, ironically,
what the signs? Go ahead.
Ironically, my wife and Dr. Jackie had the same response, and they both said it simultaneously. Well, signs don't have to be on the house to know if it's for sale. So once again, Scott is dancing around the issue. Once again, the whole double speak, not speaking the truth.
Right.
Simple question: is it up for sale? Not for sale? And Dr. Contessa basically says in the back, guys, it was up to sale. He pulled it off the market. He doesn't even talk to the realtor.
And period. That was an easy. He didn't even have to lie about that, or you know, allude to it being something else. The signs, anyway. I can't. So Andy mentions that Cecil and Curtis they've been through this sort of thing before, and we've seen it unfold on the show. And so he just wanted to ask them what their thoughts were. Cecil just mentioned that he was surprised that, or was it, babe?
No, Dr. Cecil basically said...
No, he's not a doctor.
No, yeah. Cecil, Dr. Simone, right?
Dr. Simone's
husband said when Simone mentioned the divorce, it was a bombshell for everyone else around him, but he knew it was coming. They must have had this conversation.
Right.
It wasn't new to him. Parallel that to Scott, separation, who, what, when, how is what is how, what is which. So that's the other thing. It seems that Scott is either clearly on some other world in Scotland, or he's intentionally being aloof. And that's the main thing about in a relationship. You can't have any ambiguity in it. It either is or it isn't. What are we working for? What are we going to do? What is the goal? It needs to be clearly stated for us to be successful. And looking at this relationship, I don't even know which way they're going.
Right. This just speaks to the difference between some people. You have people in relationships that are honest and upfront about, what's going on. And then you have those that are not. And so that just speaks to that. Cecil and Dr. Simone, it was very clear. Meanwhile, you have Scott just in the stars. It's just like, land, Scott. Come on back to the middle. Or just stop lying. How about that? Because he was playing dumb, but we know that he's not dumb. He's a doctor. So anyway, my second point in terms of like bridging the gap, meeting in the middle, and finding some type of functional way that we can be in this relationship, in a happy, healthy relationship, is just that... and it was something else that Cecil mentioned. Cecil said that you can't have this attitude of, I'm going to do me, she's going to do her, and that's going to be what it is. Like if your end game is to be married, that cannot be your conversation.
Okay.
You have to include your partner. And again, that's from simple stuff as small as doing laundry, dishes, who's going to pick up the kids. Like, you can't have the attitude of, I'm going to do me, and you do you. But like that's just not the type of conversation that is healthy for two people that are trying to be in a healthy relationship.
Go for it.
So the wives return to the stage. They talk about the racial unrest and all of the stuff that was happening in our world, as we know, with COVID-19, the protest around George Floyd. And it was great. We're not going to talk to that or speak to that, but that's how the show progressed. I do want to mention that Dr. Eugene talked about how COVID-19 affected him being an ER doctor. It was really sad. I don't want to give too much detail away for those who haven't watched it. But he like teared up and everything, and it was just. And I just wanted to mention that because if you did watch this season, Toya was kind of a really difficult person to get along with, and I just think that was probably why we all have experienced so much this past year. And I just think it's hard in relationships when you see your spouse going through something that you can't do anything about. Like he was saying at one point, he was like, okay, this is the day I get it. And I'm going to take it home to my kids and my wife, and I'm going to kill my whole family. Like, to have that type of stress and pressure, it's just unreal and it's unbelievable. And sometimes we don't know what to do in situations like that. And I just wanted to say, when it is out of your hands and out of your control, that's when it's a God issue. And we've got to give it over to the Lord in prayer and pray specifically. We do not have a high priest who can't be touched by the feelings of our infirmities. Pray, pray, pray. God cares about what you care about. He is concerned about the things that you are concerned about. So always just remember that you can pray. Pray, pray, pray for your spouse. That's like the best thing that I believe. We started off praying even when we were dating, and we still pray. We don't pray as much. We need to get back to that. We pray every Sunday, just to start our week off. But we do. We are pray, y'all. Pray. Okay. So that was actually my third point, if you will, as it relates to bridging and meeting in the middle. So back to Scott and Contessa. So Dr. Jackie and Dr. Simone had the men bring Scott. So this is them talking about this trip that the girls ended up having. And then they ended up having their husbands and the men bring Scott down, y'all. It went left.
All right. So basically during the season, right, all the girls are noticing that Dr. Contessa is really having a hard time with this marriage issue. So basically, Dr. Jackie, Dr. Simone, and Quad all agree. I think Dr. Heavenly was in on it too. What we're going to do is we're going to bring our husbands back onto the island, which was originally an all-girls trip.
Right.
And what we're going to do is that we're going to have an intervention.
Right.
I call it an ambush because it's something you should not want to do just in general. But we're going to invite all of you guys. Everyone's at a dinner table. And we're going to surprise Scott with these tough questions about his marriage.
And he felt attacked. And I mean...
And on the defensive.
And he was totally on the defensive.
And rightly so, because I'm going to be really honest with that. If my wife invited me to some type of event, I don't think we trying to chill, relax. I mean, we're on a beautiful beach and island, and then she's going to air our business out on the street like that without telling me what's going on. Not to mention... I don't know if Scott is down with all these women like
right.
that.
And he's clearly not.
Right.
And he totally felt attacked, and he literally got up.
And I can just to let everyone know, when you're doing like an intervention type deal, you got to be very careful with that because what you guys have good intentions on, it can go sideways really quick.
Right.
And that's exactly what happened. Go for it.
Yeah, it was just a delicate situation. So what it showed me, honestly, yes, he reacted that way. But what it also showed me is that Contessa reacted in a way that I was not ready for either. To me, it seemed very Stockholm syndrome, if you will, whereby a person, what's the definition?
All right, so basically a Stockholm syndrome is like an emotional attachment where the victim or the hostages have positive feelings about toward their abductors or abusers.
Right. So to me, it seemed like she cowers. She just kind of lowers herself and her feelings. And when he's around and when he has something to say about whatever it is that she's, emoting about or saying.
And specifically in this instance, at the dinner or whatever, he basically said, I don't know what y'all talking about. Contessa, aren't we good? We good, right?
Like literally putting words in her mouth. It was just ridiculous. Right. Like how he just kept kind of like, she couldn't get a word in edgewise. And it was just like.
And he basically took her from the table, not like roughly, but they both we about to go, and she went with him.
And not only did she just go with him, she's like apologizing the whole time. Why are you apologizing, Contessa? Like, it just seemed like there was some abuse somewhere. mistreatment somewhere, like to the point where she just again cowers and just kind of feels insignificant. And I just did not like what I saw in that. But that's kind of what the next topic was about. So naturally, the girls rip him a new one because they're just like, you're the one that's the liar. You know, it's like, what are we playing? Two lies and the truth? Like, sir, get it together. So the girls are upset. They probably were thinking about what happened then. And so they're just like going off on him about the whole Jekyll Island thing. And all Scott could say in rebuttal to that was, I said what I said because I wanted to. I can't with him. So Dr. Heavenly then asked Dr. Kieran his thoughts. Contessa, here we go again, defending Scott. She's just like, no, guys, don't answer that because I don't want y'all to see, like, the bad part of him. Like, I don't want him to go off on y'all, in other words. And even Andy was like, well, what do you mean? What are you talking about? I don't want y'all to see the wrath of Scott. And so Dr. Kieran, I loved what he said. He was like, first of all, I can hold my own, so you don't have to worry about that. But then second of all, I'm not trying to put him in a bind where he feels like his back is up against the wall and he feels like he has to be on the attack mode. And he said what he said, which is pretty much the same thing, that it's all been so confusing and it just seems like they need to really work it out and get it together. But it just, again, showed me a side of Dr. Contessa that was, they absolutely need therapy. Absolutely, because you cannot, I mean, you just can't have the whole defending your spouse or anybody that constantly hurts you. Like, I just can't with that. So that's that. So that was, you know, I feel like that was a mistake on her part when she, you know, was defending him. I mean, it even speaks to even what the ladies had talked about at the beginning of, I think, episode 1 of the reunion show, when how the season ended, it looked like they were on bad terms, Contessa and her husband. And next thing the girls see is like Contessa and Scott out on this island doing this, like they were still vacationing, doing the most. Now again, I mean, they have children, so you know, you have to save face for your family, and just put your best foot forward. And so maybe that's what that was, but it just looked like, it looked a little sketchy, is all. So the show does continue. Contessa did finally mention something that offended her, which was when Scott was showing the boys, the guys, the esthetician who had given him a facial. And this was, I think, at Cecil's house in the man cave. And she was just like, that hurt my feelings, you know, like, why would he do that? And Scott's thing was, even in the show when he was doing that, was like, ooh, my wife would never let me hire her. Like, Contessa has, like, insecurity issues. Like, how is that the issue? How about you shouldn't even be having this woman rubbing all up on you? That's a whole nother story. But, yeah, so that's pretty much, that was kind of like the last issue that was brought up. So you have the girls, their children. If you watch the show, you know that the girls have brought up that daddy has a girlfriend. You have the now esthetician doing the most. Yep. And it seemed inappropriate. And then you had the lie about the life coach. So Andy was like, sir, you are really digging yourself in a grave deeper and deeper. Like, why are you doing all these things if they're all lies? He really didn't have a whole lot to say about that. He just kind of said, Andy's like, well, so now what? Where do we go from here? Contessa's just kind of pushing counseling. I think that that's what we need. Scott is just like, I feel like we have potential. We could do anything, type lingo. And the group agrees to support them. I mean, you know, believes that they can truly make it, and that they could do it. They could be in a supportive marriage. So we're going to end there. The season, or the episode 3, reunion show 3, did not end there. They continue with the reunion. But for our purposes, we're going to end there. That was our take on Married to Medicine reunion 3. Bottom line for me is tell the truth. You never have to defend the truth.
And what we want to do is, guys, is that just 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 overall in relationships, like when my wife say, tell the truth, and just be clear about what's really going on. Because as I was watching Scott, every time he was asked a question, dancing around it, I got confused, the double speak. I felt uncomfortable, and I'm like, what's really going on? You in or you out? How do you go?
Right.
And when relationships are going to be very successful, you got to have that clear, concise communication.
So that's all for today. Thanks, guys. We appreciate your time, and have a good one.
Please like, subscribe, tell everyone about us, Growing with the Girtleys. Our Instagram is @growingwiththegirtleys. Email growingwiththegirtleys@gmail.com. Thank you, guys. You have a good night.